For Mr. Ehsassi, you represent a party who's about gender parity and diversity and all that, but I observed 3 guests who are all 3 white older males, 3 against the referendum, 3 against the referendum, and 3 in favor of your party's position. So will you also, sorry?
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so can you comment on why there's it's not much of a debate when the host only represents one opinion and everyone already agrees on the issue from the beginning. And in terms of reaching out to youth and Aboriginals, what have you done to reach out to that demographic? Because I just don't see anyone in that room, in this room, that represents the demographic and the youth that you're trying to reach out to. So what have you done to correct that?
So I can just answer this particular specific question. What we did do in terms of inviting people to actually attend this, all the data we had, every single email we had, we sent out invitations.
Did you visit any universities or schools or community centers or Aboriginal centers or camps?
No, that's not what we did for the purposes of this particular event.
You only attracted one demographic,
sure.
White, older people.
Sure, but that's not the only demographic we have.
The majority.
I think
there's no youth and there's no Aboriginals in this room.
We have around 11,000 people in our database, which consists of everyone under the sun. We sent it out, and it just so happens in this particular instance that people who came out weren't necessarily youth.
Why is that? You didn't direct any
I thought if we have 11,000 emails from this particular riding, I thought that would be sufficient. You're saying it's not. But in that, we have students, we have young people, we have every single different group. So that's what we did. You can tell me I didn't do enough, which is perfectly fine, but I'm just telling you what we did. I'm sorry?
In terms of representation on your guests?
There's been a lot of talk about diversity. I know that it's very politically correct. I believe in democracy. I think most of the people that came out here were men. Now I see but more have left, so or not. It could have been younger people, could have been older people. I say let people vote the way they want to vote, and let who wants to participate, participate. I don't think a system is less legitimate because more young people or more old people or more tall people or more short people want to participate.
Well,
the big thing is that everyone can vote.
This is the debate against having a referendum because it doesn't attract diversity. So now you're saying the opposite. That it doesn't matter if you attract diversity.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
You know why there are less young people? Because they have kids, they have work, they have
I
lots of
work.
things.
I came from
Me
work.
too. That's why my husband is at home taking care of my son, so I can be here. But I think that the older people will have, they did their time, so probably they have more free time. So that's the reason they
work, go to school.
they come here and they share their opinion more. It's not that the young people doesn't care, but their life these days in Toronto is so busy. That's what I think.
Did you have a question?
Well,
Apart from that, I can answer all those questions. I don't want to hold up this panel. I can answer those questions if you'd like afterwards. Yes, last question for the
Thanks very much for letting me participate. I'm actually next door in Don Valley North, but we didn't have a consultation meeting, so thank you very much for opening up the doors here. Well, one thing I wanted to bring up was the mixed member proportional system, which is the one where you vote for the local representative and the riding. One thing I wanted to ask is, has it ever been considered to kind of think about that in a different way? A lot of people don't like the two classes of MPs, and I don't either. But we have two houses of parliament. And has it ever been considered that if we had a local MP with a single member constituency, or you vote for a name, preferably with the party not being written right beside it, and then cast a second vote for a senator voted off a complete party list system, which is terrible if it was your only system, but it's much better than appointing people for a life term. And that way, if there was if there was sort of a skew in the House of Commons, then you could at least say that you need a majority of the Senate as a sober second thought to say that yes, this is something that we could agree with. Another thing that I served for 3 years as a school board trustee. Voted in with 17% of the vote. One thing that I think is amazing is the student trustees. So there was talk about lowering the voting age. I think we all understand that younger Canadians are still learning a lot about the world and haven't maybe finished going through that process at 16. But what if for 14 to 18-year-olds, we let them participate every year, so it's more of an educational thing where they get used to voting, and let them elect a student parliamentarian, which, like the student trustees at the Toronto District School Board, get to speak at the table, have an opportunity to give their voice, cast a ballot, which is recorded, but the vote doesn't count towards passing or not passing the legislation. But it does make sure that they have a voice and that people are hearing what that generation has to say, because sooner or later they will have a vote.
I just wanted to really quickly express my disappointment in the reaction of the room to the last speaker. Diversity is something that we talk about a lot, and it's not just a buzzword. It's what we're trying to address when we ask questions like, why aren't there more young people in the room? Why aren't there more people of a variety of backgrounds? When we're asking those sorts of questions, what we're really wondering about is whether or not the system that's in place is providing the opportunities to those people to come, whether it's reaching out to those people or whether we're systematically shutting them out. And so, like, I think it's not enough to say that, oh, well, whoever comes out, comes out. If we don't have a host of, maybe it's not this event, but a host of events that are specifically reaching out to people who care. If the civic education is not bringing young people, is not teaching them what they need to know in order to be involved, is not encouraging them to be involved, like, what do you expect? I don't know, I was just really interested.
Thank you. I completely agree. And I just want to acknowledge, I think that your question is very valid. I think it's not just this event, though. I mentioned this earlier. I think white men dominating the political space is a much bigger problem, and it is a problem, and it should be acknowledged and pointed out.
It's not just the problem, it's the hypocrisy. I mean, you're talking about gender diversity and this and that, but then you bring three white males that you're saying dominate everything to come and preach the same message.
So as one of those white males, I just want to say I agree with you. Thanks for bringing it up. But in terms of our message, we're actually totally not aligned with the Liberal message at all in terms of pushing for proportionality, and it's actually quite off-party line, the three people you invited, in terms of our positions on the reform.
3 against the referendum and 3 in favor of change. So
we're proposing, most of us seem aligned with the change that Trudeau has not publicly aligned himself with at all. In fact, he's kind of spoken out against it. But we're just scratching the surface. If we can go into more details, if we had more days, we haven't even explained the systems at all. The AV and STD and MMP, they're in your documents, but the 2 proportional systems are what us 3 are more, at least open to, if not aligned with. And Trudeau himself has mostly aligned himself with the AV model, which is just going to a ranked ballot that's not technically proportional. But I just want to skim through. We only have minus 5 minutes. Some quick responses, and then I'll pass the mic over. I would think it would help nominations. Someone else asked about that. It would help nominations because every party would have a chance of winning, a seat under STV or under MMP, every vote would count. So right now, if you're the Conservative Party in the downtown area, why would anyone go to the nomination meeting? You don't have a chance in hell. Why would you go to a green nomination anywhere? Sorry, Peter, but why would you? Under PR, there would be an incentive for people to join parties and get involved and participate and run. MMP, gives you 2 separate votes for your local rep and your party, which means if you like Ali but you like the Greens, with MMP you could vote for both. You could vote for your local Ali because you think he's really cool, and you could vote for the Greens.
Don't use the acronym.
Mixed member proportional. Sorry, they're just so multisyllabic. Mixed member proportional. Germany, New Zealand, it's amazing. You vote for your local rep and your party person. But I think it was you said, or someone said, would that entrench parties? Because right now our system doesn't really depend on parties technically at all. We could elect 338 independents, and they'd have to get together and pick a prime minister and form a cabinet. I mean, the system wasn't designed in a way that depends on parties, whereas MMP would, for the first time, entrench parties into the system. That is one of the drawbacks of MMP. Although you could argue that it does the opposite. By breaking up that vote for the local rep and party, for the first time, you could actually vote for an independent locally while still knowing that you're affecting the party vote proportionally. This meant security, get this guy out.
Exactly.
Our security will be coming in a minute.
Okay, lock the doors. This is our building. No, I'm joking. Okay, anyway, it wouldn't affect provincial representation. The Maritimes could still get their seats under any system. If we have a referendum, there has to be tons of education, which we did not do in Ontario in '97. I just wanted to mention I'm writing a book, 100 Remedies for Local Democracy, and I'm crowdsourcing the content. You can go to my website, 100remedies.org, and let me know how you would fix democracy. And lastly, I just want to say that if you believe in any of these changes happening, please get involved. Join Fairville Canada, join Unlock Democracy, join Lead Now, join whatever. These changes will not happen on their own because the strategists of every party, the Liberal strategists, the Conservative strategists, even the NDP strategists, the Greens don't have strategists, none of them want to see major reform. They like the system as it is. So please get involved, and I want to thank you for organizing this and for being a backbencher. We need some of that.
I don't think we agreed at all on everything. We didn't agree on mandatory voting. We didn't agree about online voting. I'm not even against keeping the current first-past-the-post system. The reason I think we spoke against referenda are for very different reasons. I just thought it was a waste of time because it's going to fail. It's going to cost a lot of money. And I don't care, Dave. I admire Dave. But actually, I'm not as driven about increasing participation. My conception of democracy is somewhat different. I don't believe just because more people vote, it's more democratic. What I have great confidence in, whatever we end up doing with the electoral system, is the underlying values, the political culture of Canada. I care about things like the freedom of the press, the probity of our judges, and the fact that they're independent, and that we have a strong civil society, vigorous groups that we can have town hall meetings. And it's not as important to me how many people show up, but the fact that anybody can come and say what they want. You, she, me. That to me is infinite. That's what democracy is about. Much more important than the electoral system. And so, okay, that's my view. I just wanted
I'd just like to comment on the question raised about a bad process that might produce your question, sir. I could might recommend a good system, but the process would be so awful that the good system is illegitimate from the word go. I think we could be very close to that kind of a disaster. I don't think Mr. Trudeau's election promise that this will be the last election on first past the post, that he should keep that. He should break that promise. That's an awful, a professor can say that. But I don't think we're ready to change. We've got to have a lot more discussion. I think the committee, when it comes in with, I hope we'll have a recommendation in December, which 3 parties will support. But we're going to take a long time to learn about it. And what I would hope they do is put before the country, the parliamentarians, the system they have judged to be an improvement of what we have, and really talk to Canadians about that specific system. I think there's a chance we may have a brand new system the world hasn't seen. And Nelson, I notice, is on the edge of it. So is Jean-Pierre Kingsley, our former electoral commission. That is a kind of hybrid that first past the post in the big rural areas and multiple member constituencies in the big cities. I've been attending meetings from Vancouver and now a number in Ontario, and I find that hybrid may be something that that Canadians could be proud of, because it may be well designed for the country. It's going to take them a while to appreciate that. So my hope is that Mr. Trudeau says, I can't keep the promise because the country isn't ready for a change. I hope we can get it ready for a change. We've got a good alternative, and we'll put it before the voters in the next election. And the election in 2019, that'll be a huge issue. It won't be a referendum, but the Conservatives can have a real run at it. So that's the best way I see forward, to have a process like that. It might turn out okay. The bad scenario is to adopt a process by legislation in the House of Commons, introduce it, and I think we could be into major civil disobedience, violence. When I hear from the referendum group, who are mostly conservatives, and they have a lot of influence, they will just tear this country apart if it's just a vote of a majority in Parliament. They will. It will be very dangerous for Canada to go ahead and honor Mr. Trudeau's election promise. I feel very gloomy about that possibility.
Thank you very, very much. Not exactly sure how I could possibly thank the panelists here today. Thank you for your erudition, for your insights, for your perspectives. I certainly hope it has helped everyone who was good enough to actually come to our event. I must also say that I learned quite a bit from all of the questions. So thank you everyone for participating in this event. Given one of the comments that we did here, I think I should say that we learned something in terms of process as well. I do undertake in the future, if we do have an event of this nature, to actually go and put up flyers in every single school in the riding to make sure that we have made every effort to make sure that young people are involved in this process as well. But I would ask that everyone kindly fill out the paperwork that we have provided you, because it's imperative that we try to gauge as best we can what everyone in our riding thinks about the changes that are needed, what type of change they prefer. So we will be preparing a report and passing it on to the committee that's looking into this issue. On that note, again, thank you very, very much to our distinguished speakers. And I think we can all help, all of us here in Willowdale can hold our heads up high that we had an incredibly, incredibly informative panel by some of the wisest people to speak on these issues. Thank you.